My partner kicked me out of our house and we have a 4-month-old baby together. I'm really just looking for any words of advice, consolation, or even a reality check. I'm so torn up right now, the sadness is eating me alive. We've been together for just over 2 years now. We found out she was pregnant 1 year into our relationship, and after so much back and forth on both parts, we decided to keep the baby. The baby was born 4 months ago and he is the biggest joy in our lives. I love him with all of my heart and my partner, ex, does too, and I'm so happy that she is the mother of my child because I love so much about her, from her beauty and likes and dislikes, to her imperfections, but most of all love the way she cares for our child. I work full-time plus in order to pay for rent, groceries, leisure, clothing, etc. for her, the baby and us. I'm working extremely hard to provide her with the ability to be a stay-at-home mother in one of the most esteemed cities in Southern California. I do this because I've assumed the financial responsibility of parenting my child and seek to give the mother the best possible, stress-free life with the ability to be 100% present and available during such a tender time for the both of them. She had been mentioning how she fell out of love with me and didn't feel as romantically engaged in me as before. I tried suggesting this could be due to hormonal changes after birth, while still acknowledging her feelings. The first couple months after birth we were consistently sexually active and she was deeply in love with me, or so I thought. Things started to decline as I came back to work and was less present around the house. I really wanted to try to raise my son with my partner in the same household. We tried therapy, did a few sessions, over the span of 1.5 months, had some insight into our situation, but no resolution yet. It came to the point where she told me that she was completely out of love with me and done trying. That she appreciated all of the financial support and how good I am with our child, but that I lacked the emotional space for her and the baby, which breaks my heart. She told me that she likes nothing about me and actually despises who I am and that it was a mistake to have a child with me. She expresses how she is completely romantically detached from me and how she wants to find romance and love again, and that it can't work with me in the picture. She had been consciously keeping my baby away from my parents, his grandparents. They only got to hold him once or twice after the birth. She keeps my baby away from her own mother. She is in elementary school and tutor. Meanwhile, my partner's father is home with her every day, caring for our baby while I am at work, and he is even spending the night at our house. Her father is well able, retired, jobless, lives off Social Security but too prideful to work consistent jobs. Therefore he has no home or rental. He lived out of a cheap motel until they found that I could house him for free. I am grateful of how he is able to be present to help my partner get sleep and look after the baby while I am away, working for the family. Both of them know this. Everything hit the fan after I was told that I needed to pay for my partner to have a running car that was up to date with insurance and registration. I have 2 cars and only drive one daily. Her having an automobile is a given to me and I was not trying to hold back this necessity, but they basically forced me into a situation where I had to sell my work vehicle in order to pay for her car, $2,000 plus, to get back on the road. I didn't see her car as high priority considering her father was living with her and was driving her into town every day, and I picked her and our child up after work daily. I asked if there was any way that I could have some help in this situation, perhaps from her father, and that my work vehicle greatly facilitated my work life. She took this as me not willing to sell my car and or me not wanting her to have a working car. She walked out to her father, who came back angry and aggressive, asking me why I always push back, to stop getting in the way of everything, and do what his daughter says. I simply told him I have no problem in getting her car up and running and that I misunderstood just how high priority it was considering the situation. He told me I had to grow up and this, and got extremely aggressive towards me. Her seeing her father in this state really triggered her, as she views him in very good light and almost whatever he says goes in her mind. I was then kicked out of my house on the premise that she needed 3 nights of spaces and this relationship wasn't working. It has since been 2 nights. She let me see my son for 30 minutes yesterday, half of the time he was sleeping, the other half I was trying to spend talking to her. We were in a busy environment and didn't get anywhere. She hears what I have to say but has no feelings or empathy for me. She says we will do 3 more nights, then we'll see. I am now kicked out of my house, living on friends' couches, while her and her father are living in the 2-bedroom space with 4 beds that I have paid for nearly 12 months. I can't believe this is my reality, and I am absolutely devastated that I can't be with my child or sleep under the same roof as them. As a father and protector, this is my biggest nightmare. Somebody please give me insight. Comment. Get a lawyer ASAP. Look into what rights you have in your area and get everything you need in order to be in your child's life. Do not move out. She has the upper hand then. She can't keep the baby from you, and that's her home and yours. If you leave voluntarily, she just gets that space to have. Her dad doesn't seem stable to have around. Write everything down. This is exactly what I came here to say. Get back inside of the house that you pay for. For that living space is not for her and her father, it's for you, her, and your baby. Move back into the house today. You can be nice enough to stay in one of the spare bedrooms or whatever, or even sleep on the couch, but do not leave your home that your child is in. She has no right to kick you out of your own home. 0. If she desperately needs space, she can go get that space somewhere else. She also has no right to keep your child from you. If it's only been 4 months, she's probably still breastfeeding, so technically you won't get any overnight custody until the baby is weaned, but she has no right at all to limit access to your child. 30 minutes every few days. Absolutely fuck that. Unless you have left out something major that you did because this to happen, the problem seems to be her father. Her father does not get to dictate who lives in the he you pay for. Move back in immediately, and just quietly, calmly, and firmly explain repeatedly, I am not leaving my own home. I am also not okay with never seeing my child. She is flatly admitting that the only reason this is happening is because she is not attracted to you anymore. Too fucking bad. That does not mean you get kicked out of your own home and never get to see your child. She's not even pretending that you've done anything wrong, and she still thinks she has the right to just kick you out. No. Actually, more and more judges are no longer allowing moms breastfeeding to keep overnights away from dads. Too many were using that as a reason to not have to do fair custody. They can pump if they have to, but dads are just as important as the mothers. Babies need them just as much. I am a mother, and the bond between a child and a good father is priceless. Regardless of how I felt about my ex, I made sure he always had access to the kids. Go home up. But if the dad gets aggressive and it turns physical, the police may be called and up may be asked to leave anyway. Don't get me wrong, this woman sounds like a piece of work, but with her father there and it did turn violent, then it would be his word against theirs. I'm almost thinking if he does go home, he needs to bring someone to stay there with him as well. Oh, I have definitely seen it. Her dad has been poisoning his daughter's thoughts against Up. He needs to be removed from the home immediately, but I can see this is not going to be easy. Up definitely need a family law attorney. The only good thing is that Up is not married to her, so he will only be responsible for child support. She will have to get everything she needs for herself. There is nowhere in the post that says they're married. Up refers to 23F as partner, never said wife, and refers to her parents as her mother and her father, not Mill or Phil. This may not be about divorce at all, and everything to do with custody of the baby. If they can put Op's job at risk by manipulating him into selling the car, it can increase her chances of getting full custody and also force him out of his own house. Next story 2. I am completely torn in my marriage. I got married pretty young. My wife and I both come from very religious backgrounds, and our marriage was basically an arranged marriage. We're now over the religious crap, mostly anyways. And we have 4 kids. And have been married for almost 15 years. But I never really loved her. That's the sad truth. We get along most of the time, we have fun together, we work decently well together, and we've gone through a lot together, and grown together as people. We are very open with each other. All in all, there's a lot going for our relationship, as we've both invested a lot of effort into our marriage. But I've never once felt like I'm happy that she's my life partner. Every time I say I love you, I feel like I'm lying. I've never told her this. I'm hitting a bit of a midlife crisis right now, and going through a lot of repressed emotions with my therapist. And I've finally admitted to myself how much this affects my mental well-being, or lack thereof. But I feel like I can't really get divorced. We've been through so much together. We've helped each other, raised our kids together, bought a house, achieved big things together, essentially built our life together. How do I throw in the towel now? My wife has said in numerous convos that she would completely fall apart if we got divorced. She would consider divorce as though I'm abandoning her. I can't bring myself to live with the guilt. Also, she's a Sam. I would of course give all the financial support I could, which is a pretty decent amount. But to keep the middle class lifestyle that we're in, she would need to get a job that pays real money. And I don't know how likely that is happen. Not even sure why I'm posting here. Guess I just want someone's support, experience, or advice. Comment. Before you jump out of this marriage, have you really tried to love your wife? Have you dated her, or are you dating her now? Feeling change, and if you didn't get married for love in the first place, it would be better to see if you actually do love your wife by trying versus leaving and regretting it because of depression, etc. Yes, but it's such a gray area. Chemistry between two people ebbs and flows to an extent. Op doesn't sound necessarily put off by his wife, and she's part of his trauma by virtue of being part of his traumatic religious upbringing. Through no fault of her own, obviously, but it's still real, like how parents who lose a child often separate. Once a relationship is 10 plus years old, a lot more choice and will is involved in the love part. I don't know if Op and his wife could develop a truly loving romantic and sexual relationship given the circumstances, but it's certainly not a lost cause. Trauma, especially religious trauma, manifests in wild ways, but the good thing is that trauma can be healed and whole people restored. I used to think the same and applied this to previous long-term relationships. Until I actually did fall in love for the first time in my life. I've never been this happy and comfortable in a relationship ever before, and it feels like it takes zero effort to make things work between us, because it just does. Love is a feeling. If it's a choice, you're just forcing it. And I really regret thinking otherwise in my previous relationships. Perfectly normal, my friend. You've been together a long time. So my advice is to think about the reasons she is a great partner. Love is but an emotion, and all emotions dissipate. Anger, joy, sadness eventually fade. Some linger longer than others, but emotions fade. Love fades too. Don't over-romanticize this and lose someone that you genuinely get along with as a life partner. Think about what you want to do and what else in life triggered this. Stagnation happens to us all, and oddly when we reach a comfortable place in life. Don't do anything rash. Don't say anything until you figure it out in your head first. You gonna blow up a good thing for nothing if you do.